Hey guys, it's Janine here, and in today's video we are going to be learning how to use the method of completing the square to solve quadratics. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. So in this first example here we have x squared minus 10x minus 30 is equal to 0. And so let's start out by moving our constant term over to the other side. So let's go ahead and add 30 to both sides. So we get x squared minus 10x is equal to 30. And as our next step, we are going to need to add some term to both sides so we can complete the square. So let's do that. So this term that we need to add to both sides is b over 2 squared. So let's go ahead and identify what b is equal to. So b is just the coefficient that multiplies the x terms. So in this case, b is equal to negative 10. So let's go ahead and divide that by 2 and square that, and we end up with negative 5 squared, which is equal to 25. So let's go ahead and add 25 to both sides. So now we can complete the square. So the left-hand side becomes x, and then we take b, which is negative 10, and divide it by 2, so we end up with x minus 5 squared. And the right-hand side ends up being 55. And then now we can go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And when we take the square root of the constant term, don't forget the plus or minus sign. Okay, so this becomes x minus 5 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 55. And so now we can go ahead and solve for x. So let's go ahead and add 5 to both sides. So here we have x is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 55, and we can separate these into the two roots. So we have x is equal to 5 plus the square root of 55. And we have x is equal to 5 minus the square root of 55. And so those are our roots. So let's go ahead and take a look at one more example. So in this next example here, we have negative 2x squared plus 16x plus 1 is equal to 0. So as our first step, let's go ahead and move our constant term over to the other side. So let's subtract by 1 on both sides. So our next step is we want the coefficient on the x squared term to be 1. So right now it's negative 2. So we're going to go ahead and divide each term by negative 2. Okay, so our equation ends up being x squared minus 8x is equal to 1/2. So from here, we are going to want to add some term to both sides so that we can complete the square. So this term that we're going to be adding to both sides is going to be b over 2 squared. So let's go ahead and identify what b is equal to. So b is just the coefficient that multiplies the x. So in this case, b is equal to negative 8. So we're dividing it by 2 and squaring it, and we end up with negative 4 squared, and that is equal to 16. So let's go ahead and add 16 to both sides. Okay, so the left-hand side ends up being x, and then we take b and divide it by 2. So negative 8 divided by 2 is equal to negative 4, and we square that. And this is equal to 1/2 plus 16. So we can convert 16 to 32 over 2 just to get a common denominator. And so we have on the right hand side 1/2 plus 32 over 2, which is 33 over 2. Okay, And then from here, we can go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And again, do not forget the plus or minus sign on the side where you take the square root of the constant term. So we end up with x minus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 33 over 2. Okay, and now we want to solve for x. So let's go ahead and add 4 to both sides. So we have x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of 33 over 2, and we can write this out as our two separate roots. So we have x is equal to 4 plus the square root of 33 over 2, and we have x is equal to 4 minus the square root of 33 over 2. And so these are our roots. And so that is how you use the method of completing the square to solve a quadratic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.